Hi guys, welcome to the channel. If you're watching this video, it's probably because you like barbecue and you like smoking, and you might not know where to start. In this video, I'm going to go over a few of the smokers that I have, 3 different varieties to be exact. On the left side there, I've got a pellet smoker. In the middle, I've got an electric smoker. And on the right side, I've got a gravity feed charcoal smoker. All 3 have some different characteristics. You can call them pluses or minuses. I just like to call them differences. To keep things on a level playing field, I'm going to be using lumberjack hickory pellets in the pellet smoker, and I'll be using the cowboy hickory wood chunks in the gravity feed smoker, along with some lump charcoal, and I'm also using the hickory chunks in the electric smoker. Now the next thing to do is prep the ribs, and most ribs when you buy them are going to come with a really tough membrane on the back. I like to just kind of grab one end with a dry paper towel, and they usually rip off pretty clean. We're going to make sure to do that with all 3 of them. After you get all 3 of them done, I like to put a little bit of mustard on them. Doesn't have to be a whole lot. Some people use a ton. I like to just get one little stripe down each of them. And then my 7-year-old daughter likes to slather them. Hello. So you don't need a lot. This is just kind of used as a little bit of a binder. It'll help the rub stick onto the ribs. And I will season both sides of them as well. Alright, both sides are slathered in a light layer of mustard, and now it's time to season them. I like to use the mustard as kind of like a guide coat, so this way you can see how much seasoning you're putting on. So pretty much when you can't see the mustard, you know you've got enough seasoning on there. You don't really need to pack a bunch of seasoning on the ribs because there is a such thing as over seasoning them. I like to pat the seasoning on just to make sure that you're not going to lose any. When you flip it over, if you season them lightly, you shouldn't have a whole lot that falls off of there at all. But I like to pat it on there, flip it over, and you can see I'm going to season the other side kind of the same way. First I'm just doing a little hand washing here. Always safety first. Today for seasoning I'm using some Suckle Busters honey barbecue rub. This is a really good rub. It's not too spicy, but it's got just a little bit of a kick to it, but it's got a good sweetness to it, and this is going to work really well with how I'm going to be doing the ribs using the 3-2-1 method. And I'll walk you through that as well. So just about seasoned here. There's the rub. Now that the ribs are all seasoned, I got to get them in the smoker. Here I've got a rack going in the pellet smoker. Get that closed up. Here I've got a rack in the electric smoker. There it is. And last but not least, the 3rd rack in the gravity feed charcoal smoker. I'm going to let these hang out in the smokers at about 235 degrees, and I'm going to be letting them go for about 3 hours, and I'm not going to touch them. After the 3-hour mark, I'm going to take each of the racks of ribs out of the smoker, and I'm going to kind of give them a treatment with some butter, lay down some pats. On top of the butter, I'm going to lay down a layer of brown sugar for some sweetness, and then on top of the brown sugar, I'm going to drizzle on some honey. Now the butter there gives it some fat. That allows the brown sugar to melt in with the honey without scorching. Looks about good. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to flip the meaty side of the rib down onto that mixture. And then I'm going to wrap these things up. I'm going to wrap them tightly with aluminum foil. You're going to see I got a big sheet here. Racks of ribs are pretty big, so don't go stingy on the aluminum foil. You're also going to notice here when I finish wrapping them, the meat side is going to be down, so that brown sugar and the butter and the honey is going to be on the bottom side. So now that's done, we're going to pop them in the smoker. Here you can see I've got them each labeled so I can keep track of them. P for pellet, E for electric, and C for charcoal. I don't want to get these mixed up. Alright, back outside. I got the pellet rack in the pellet smoker. I've got the electric one in the electric smoker. And as I'm sure you can guess, the next rack is going to be in the gravity feed charcoal smoker. Now I could have put all these in the same smoker or even thrown them in the oven since they're all wrapped in aluminum foil. They're not going to pick up any additional flavor. But I really want to do this to do a comparison and an equal comparison between all 3 smokers respectively. Not just in flavor, but in quality they cook as well. So I'm going to leave them all in the exact same smokers that they're going in. After the 3 hours, we're going to unwrap them and be very careful because there will be kind of a hot liquidy mess of the brown sugar and the butter, the honey, and then any fat that comes out of the ribs. But you can see at this point, you're getting a really good pullback. You got some good bone showing. You haven't picked up any color in the aluminum foil, but that's a good looking rack. Now they're back on the smoker for about an hour after this. I like to put a light layer of barbecue sauce. You'll see how light it is. Just going to take a brush and I'm going to rub them, make sure it's covered completely. It's a very, very thin layer of barbecue sauce. This is just going to add a little bit more color, going to add a little bit of extra flavor to it. It's going to even let a little bit more smoke stick to it to give it more of a smoky flavor. Don't go crazy with it. It's really easy to over sauce a rib, but this will just make it just a tiny bit sticky. That's the way I like to go. Just a sweet baby raise, nothing too fancy. Right now, I bet I have the best smelling backyard in the entire neighborhood. I got 3 different smokers going. I've got hickory rolling in all of them, along with some charcoal in the gravity feed charcoal. But it smells heavenly back here. All 3 of these smokers are great in their own rights and in their own ways. There's a lot of differences and a lot of similarities, and I'll probably do a review in the future where I kind of talk about the differences. Kind of give you a peek here now at what the bones look like coming out of each of the racks. I got 1 from each rack of ribs, so there's 1 from each smoker coming out. Now I know I've got a really hard job to do. It's time for me to start eating some ribs to find out what they taste like, how tender they are, how much smoke flavor there is or charcoal flavor there is, how much meat flavor there is. But I'll tell you right now, honestly, they're all 3 really good. I didn't have a single bad rack of ribs. You'll see some of them are thinner, some of them are meatier, and that's what happens when you buy ribs. You usually, unless you're picking through the case, can't find 3 racks all the same size, or if you do like I do and you buy them at Costco, you can see a couple racks, but the one in the middle, they usually sneak a small one in there. But yeah, now I've got the task of eating them, so I'll let you know what I think. Alright, first up is the pellet smoker. This is a fun one. The rack that came out of it looks great. It's got a great color from burning the pellets. As I kind of knew it, you can see it's got a really nice deep smoke ring to it. It's got a great smoky flavor. It's kind of exactly the smokiness you'd expect if you go to a good barbecue restaurant. Very pleased with them. Next up's the rack out of the gravity feed charcoal smoker. This rack also has some good color on it. Cut into them, you can see that there's a smoke ring on there. It's definitely not quite the smoke ring that came on the pellet smoker, but the smoke was good. It was a lighter smoke flavor. It was definitely more of a charcoal flavor, which you expect almost on like a grilled rib, but it was a great flavor. Next up is the electric smoker. It's a very easy to use smoker, and this is what a lot of people get for a first smoker. And you can see it adds a really good color to the ribs. One thing you're missing with them is a smoke ring, but don't let that fool you because you still get all of the flavor, all of the tenderness. Put out a really good rib, and in fact the electric smoker had the most smoke flavor out of all of them. I have no complaints. I'm going to be honest with you guys, I had a lot of fun smoking these ribs. 3 racks on 3 different types of smokers. All of them are Masterbuilt smokers, but 3 distinctly different smokers, and they all put out very different results. All very good in their own right. The pellet smoker was a very traditional flavor, pretty mild on the smoke, but the smoke was definitely there with a good looking smoke ring. The gravity feed charcoal smoker, this is the first time I've used that on a rack of ribs, and honestly the smoke was pretty mild in flavor, had a good color on it, and had a really good charcoal flavor, but I was really missing the smoke flavor on there. The electric smoker was the real shocker for me. It had the strongest smoke flavor and kind of required the least amount of work to do it, and it's by far the cheapest smoker to operate. But I'll let you know right now that none of the smokers are bad. And if anybody has any questions on any of the smokers, please let me know. And if you enjoyed the video, please feel free to give the video a like, and please consider subscribing. Thank you so much for watching the video, and I'll make another one soon.